I don't have a PowerPoint, so I'll just speak from my own notes. As a discussant, of course, I'm going to focus on the things that could be improved or require further clarification, but I don't want you to think that I don't think it's a good paper and that it has not made a contribution. It's just that by the nature of my job, I'm not dwelling on those. But it is a very unique data set and confirms in many respects what common sense would suggest, so that's always nice. There are some also puzzling results which may require additional investigation in order to get to the bottom of them. So I divide my notes between issues which are more on the technical side, on the econometrics or the specification, and other comments which relate more to the policy side and policy interest and policy implications. And there's no order of priority here. So one thing which I wonder about is the way this package was distributed in Ghana. It was a package for 2 acres of land. It seems like from the data, most farmers have more than 2 acres of cocoa in their farm, although some of them are smaller, some bigger. And one wonders whether farmers really follow what was expected of them and apply that package just to the 2 acres that it was supposed to suffice for, or maybe they've spread it a bit thinner and took their own initiatives. This would introduce some kind of an error in measurement because there's no control for how much cocoa area was actually, to how much cocoa area this package was applied. I think the implicit assumption in this analysis was they just applied it to the 2 acres, but we will take their total farm output as a measure of impact. But the other assumption would be, no, they've all spread it thin, and therefore we do have to do the analysis really per hectare because we have to control for the farm size. So I would suggest that this could be a kind of a robustness check. Repeat the analysis, but do it per unit of land rather than per farm, per household. Second point, it's more related to the selection into the program. So we have information here on who selects into the program and who doesn't, even before they actually apply it. And often in these kinds of analysis, one does propensity score and checks what are the characteristics of those who select into the program and how does this possibly reflect some other inherent impacts of their attributes. But the approach taken here is a difference of difference, but one could combine both. And in fact, the analysis of selection into the program could offer additional insights into who seems to be attracted to it and willing to experiment with it and who doesn't. And this may have policy implications in terms of making the program more accessible or more attractive to others if this is essentially a very profitable thing that we would like many farmers to try. The analysis uses the levels of output, as I said, not per unit of land, but the levels of output per farm. And I'm just curious as to why not the profit, at least the profit from cocoa, because we do know how much they had to spend, at least on that package and maybe on other inputs. And that would be a more accurate, I presume that farmers base their decisions eventually on whether they made a profit on adoption or not on whether they increased their output. So that's another kind of expansion and a refinement of the analysis. The distinction between the prudence motive or the insurance motive and the learning motive, I have 2 types of comments about it. One is, the common sense would say that people may have both attributes. They learn, but they're also prudent. So it's not one against the other, it's both. And I wonder if one could really test one against the other. The other point is more technical, and that is to really reflect the insurance motive. One has to use not just the income from this particular activity, but the assets or liquid assets as part of the savings of part of what the farmer has in order to insure against a bad outcome. So it seems like in this analysis it was just the direct profits from this cocoa activity, but not the overall assets of the farm. Again, I wonder, maybe there is a reason to it. And lastly, so the learning process is perceived as something that the farmer observes on the basis of their own draw from the experiment. But it's more sensible to perceive that farmers actually base their post-experiment insight not only of their own experiments but of their peers, maybe the people who were in their group because they all got that package as a group of 6 or 8, or their near neighbors, or those that they think are similar to them and their results may be relevant to them too. This, in fact, has a reflection on the econometrics, because if there is such a phenomena, then there is some clustering there that one has to take in account, maybe geographical or maybe by group, and it could either provide additional insights or it could distort the results. On the policy side, I take with a grain of salt the implication that the insurance is not important here until I see the results of including the whole asset base of the farmer rather than just the comparison of the income levels. Mechanically, since the variable, the measure of the proxy for the draw is the difference between the output before and the output after, and if you get a strong parameter on that difference, it's likely that the parameters for each one of them separately are close but of opposite signs, which is what comes out in the analysis. So it doesn't really surprise me. I wonder if the same result will hold when one includes the asset base. And then, in order to enrich the policy insights, I think one would want to investigate more both the reasons for selection into the program and the kind of what the farmers really, especially those who had the bad draw, what really characterizes them in terms of what they did with the crop, what inputs they've used, what other more specific indicators of their farm, in order to understand, because that would allow more insights in terms of how to make it the technology more attractive to a larger set of farmers, not only attractive but also actually profitable for more of them. And I wonder if there are more variables in the data that one could associate and introduce into the analysis so as to enrich the policy set. Otherwise, what is described in the conclusion is not the full set of insight that one would want in order to make a profitable technology spread and be retained on a wider scale. So I think that's a mouthful, and I look forward to further clarification.